he was kind of sanguine about prospects of India's growth, and he mentioned that considering that they have reduced or rather changed the stance to accommodative, that itself is a 25 basis point cut. So he said we have actually cut by 100 basis points. So we'll see what happens. He didn't obviously mention what's going to happen next, but that gives you an idea. Another thing that I'd like to mention is he talked about what he's looking at. He did mention that data is going to be, whatever data comes in, that's going to be the key thing that they'll be watching out for. He did mention about monsoons improving as well as oil prices, which haven't really moved up despite all what's going on in the Gulf. So those are something that I guess the market should keep an eye on as we go into August, first week of August.
Yeah, indeed. Just wondering, when it came to linking the global trade in India and the actions of the other central banks versus the Indian central bank, did he have anything meaningful to say that anything stood out for you there?
Yeah, so he did mention that on the trade wars, for instance, that's on everybody's mind. On trade war, he says that on the short term, we may not be that affected, mainly because we are not part of the global supply chain. But he did mention that if this continues in the long term, it could definitely come to bite us because exports everywhere will slow, and that would eventually hurt us. He also talked about, we asked him about what if, as Treasury Secretary Mnuchin has said, that they might be open to depreciating the US dollar. If that happens, he said that it would probably bring in more inflows initially, but then there's always this concern of hot money coming in. So he obviously did talk about hot money if the US does depreciate its own currency.
Okay, and very interestingly, I mean, amongst all the other points that he's raised, I've also seen, as you said, that he said that we'll be data dependent and we are closely monitoring the situation, etc. But a clear indication, I believe, as the story also says, that it is not the RBI's job alone to give a lift to the economy. A lot of other factors will need to chip in together,
including companies themselves investing. So those are all the things that he talked about. He obviously talked about banks reducing lending rates, which has been a sore topic for the RBI for a while.
I was about to ask you that. I mean, did he give any major inklings on that? Because that's been his grouse, right? I believe the last policy also he mentioned that we are cutting rates, but banks are not following suit. Did he speak explicitly?
So he did talk about it. He said that, listen, we can't administratively tell banks to cut rates. We'll obviously be telling them that this is happening, please go ahead, but we can't force them. So I think it really depends on what the banks do now, and if they cut. And again, the question is that will private sector start investing into capex? That's another question that even the RBI does not have the answer to, right?